It's Wednesday, November 6, 2019, and this is the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James On. Another show. Here we go. So, again, encouraging all of us to be better citizens, open ourselves to at least understanding opposing views. The reason why? Because we're not all knowing, okay? There's a lot of ignorance out there. Here, you, everyone. I mean, no one... There's plenty of people that aren't brain surgeons, right? There's plenty of people that aren't whatever and aren't, fully aware of all the information on whatever the issue is. So one of the ways that you learn about that is actually listening to other people who have opposing views and then talking to them about, what is it? How did you arrive? What information do you have? What experiences do you have that causes you to arrive where you are? And let me explain where I'm at, and then, after we have that discussion, at least we're on the same page, at least we understand each other. And a lot of times I'll talk about the bias in various information outlets and there's 5 websites that I look at. But today, most of the news continues to be, and probably will continue to be, kind of this drumbeat around impeachment of Mr. Trump. And so currently, there's just validation or revalidation of some of the issues with his attempt to get the government of Ukraine to help with his political ambitions here in this country. And we'll see how that all plays out. But in the interim, there's no reason why you and I can't talk about issues that face the nation. So we've talked about some things like gun violence and some other issues. Yesterday we talked a little bit about tax reform, if I remember correctly. And today, what I would like to do is, just a moment here, there we go, talk about another issue, and I call the show Death Eaters. And so I'm going to hold this slide up so you can see it and read it, and then let's talk to it. Okay. So very often, well, not very often, but sometimes we're victims of our own selves, I guess. We can be too successful, and in the case of our society and our ability to make and distribute foods that we like, that we crave, yet are frankly not all that great for us, especially in any significant quantity. And so, thousands of years ago, when there were a whole lot less of us and the society was a whole lot different, we were kind of hunter-gatherers kind of folk, and we went around and constantly trying to hunt whatever, rabbits or deer or whatever it was, and then eat various things that we could gather, so berries or maybe some of the tuber roots of some of the plants and some of the precursors to today's sweet potatoes and these kinds of things. We would go around and gather up this food, and that's what we would eat. And it's a pretty stark subsistence, and we spend a lot of our time gathering that food every day just to stay alive. Well, and to better our chances at living longer, our bodies became adapted to, if we ran across a lot of food, we ran across a lot of source of calories, like maybe honey from a beehive or something like that, or maybe just maybe there's a whole herd of buffalo or something, and we were able to get a lot of food at one time. Well, we would eat that, and our body would take the excess and store it on us in the form of fat. And So now fast forward, thousands of years, and we mostly live a fairly sedentary lifestyle. But the thing that's true is that all those things that we always crave because, our bodies were telling us, hey, you want to eat a lot of this because then we can store up energy and you'll live longer. Okay. You and your family will survive longer if so things like, sugars or low complexity carbohydrates, things like fat, things like salt. These are things that we wanted, and we kind of crave. Well, like I say, fast forward thousands of years, and now we've created these industries, and a lot of the foods that we consume are based on, there's a whole bunch of sugar in it, because we love sweets, we love sugar, more than any place around the world. If you've ever had a cookie made here in the United States and then eaten a cookie from, say, Germany or France, wow, you're like, what happened to the sugar in those cookies in Europe? Well, there's a big difference in how much sugar is used and the preference around that. And Americans have grown used to wanting a tremendous amount of sugar, really sweet kind of stuff. And, we'll eat ice cream. Well, that's, full of fat and sugar. So our foods, a lot of the things that we like, so potato chips and cookies and Rice Krispie treats and cereals and all this other stuff, well, it's made out of low complexity carbohydrates like wheat flour, that's highly ground wheat flour and sugar, and then they throw in fat and some salt, and that's because they want us to crave it, and we do. Okay, they're giving us what we want, and they're giving it to us where it's oh, here's a bag of stuff. Well, I picked that up on my way out of the store, cost me $1 or whatever, and it'll sit there for weeks, if not months, and never go bad. And when I open it, I can eat it, and it's satisfying my cravings for this stuff. And what's it doing? Well, it's going into this body that wants to store that kind of stuff, and it stores it in the form of fat and other forms of fat like cholesterols. And so what it's doing is it's killing us. Our society, all the different companies, Frito-Lay and Kellogg's, and I mean the list goes on and on and on. And I'm not in any way specifically naming those companies. I'm just saying there's dozens of companies like them, and they're all just doing that grand American plan. They're giving people what they want, and that's the problem. We all have to step back and say, wait a second, this stuff that we want, that's not good for us, and we have to stop eating all of the candy bars and cookies and cakes and ice cream and toast and bread and on and on and on. I mean, all those things you can have in a little bit, you can have a few portions a month kind of thing. But see, there's so many of us that are eating that continuously, and we can't figure out then, it's and you're hungry all the time, by the way, too, because your body so quickly processes that in your stomach and sends that energy into the rest of your body in the form of fats, and then your stomach's empty again, and so you're constantly eating and just calories, and so there's I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it's got to be a huge percentage of the people that are overweight and obese are that way because of the availability of all of these foods that are really bad for us, and the fact that we all are consuming them, or most of us are consuming them in quantities much, much, much greater than is really in our best interests. So what do we got to do? Well, we have to be aware just like we're aware that smoking cigarettes is bad for us, and drinking alcohol, or certainly drinking too much alcohol, is bad for us, and on and on and on. We have to be aware that there's a lot of the foods that we're eating are really bad for us, and we've got to reverse that. And then the other thing that we have to do is then we're going to have to figure out what to do with these industries who have, invested a lot of money into satisfying these kinds of, cravings, if you will. What are they going to do? And one of the things that we need to do is to, really help with solving, the world hunger problems that are around the world. There's almost 8 billion of us, and billions of people go hungry almost every day. So we could redirect those industries into hopefully making products that were nearly as stable and packaged in a more biodegradable packaging, but also then highly portable and still, with fairly long shelf lives. And then we could use that food to help feed the people that suffer around the world from hunger. And again, a hand up, satisfying some of their hunger. They're healthier, then they can, take the steps, education and so on to, step by step, build up their local economies and, subsist on their own merits, kind of stuff. But right now it's really, really tough. And honestly, we have this infrastructure that we've got to redirect away from what it currently does. All right, so that's just a short show on Death Eaters, or the fact that our food system is killing us here in the United States. And okay, so until the next show, this is Michael James out for the Pro and Con Show. Bye for now.